Have you ever caught yourself looking at the sky, feeling like you've been here before? Like this life isn't your first, and maybe it's your last? Not in a sad way, but in a peaceful, deep-down knowing sort of way. Like you've been through it all, and somehow you've finally made it to the end of a long, soul-growing journey. If you've ever felt that strange sense of déjà vu that goes beyond just recognizing a place, or if you've ever looked into someone's eyes and felt a connection you couldn't explain, this video might just resonate more deeply than anything else you've heard lately. You see, many spiritual traditions believe that we go through multiple life cycles, and that after we've learned all the lessons we're meant to learn, we stop reincarnating. We reach our final form, our last lap on this earth. But how do you know if this is your last life? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. This conversation is especially important if you're over 60, because you've lived enough, seen enough, and felt enough to recognize the signs. You've walked through decades of joy, heartbreak, wisdom, and growth. And if these 9 signs sound familiar to you, there's a real chance you're living your final lifetime. Let's start with the first one. Something subtle, but powerful. You feel a deep, unshakable sense of peace. It's not because life is always easy. Let's be honest, it rarely is. But you're not fighting it anymore. You don't chase after things the way you used to. You don't get caught up in every little argument or feel the need to prove yourself. It's like the world is still loud, but your soul is finally quiet. That inner calm, even in the middle of chaos, is one of the strongest indicators that your soul has done this dance many times before. And now, it's just still. There's a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books or gurus. It comes from experience, from suffering, healing, forgiving, and letting go. And if you feel like you've reached a point in life where you can see things from a higher perspective, not just what happened, but why it happened, you're already tapping into a level of awareness that's rare. Let's talk about another sign. You don't feel like you belong here anymore, not in a depressed or hopeless way, but more like you're visiting. Like Earth has become a temporary place for you. You may enjoy the little things, your morning tea, birds on the balcony, the smile of a stranger, but deep down, you don't feel attached. You're not clinging to anything, not even to your own identity. That's because the soul, nearing the end of its reincarnation cycle, starts to detach. Not because it doesn't care, but because it finally understands that none of this is permanent. You might have noticed this in small ways too. Maybe material things just don't excite you the way they used to. You don't feel the need to collect, compete, or compare. You don't measure success by what you have, but by how you feel. You might even laugh at how much you used to worry about things like money, titles, or approval. Now, the real wealth feels like peace of mind, simplicity, and being present. That's another clue your soul is nearly done with Earth School. And here's something many people over 60 tell me. They start to see patterns. You may look back at your life and realize, I kept getting the same kind of lesson over and over, different people, different cities, but the same feeling. Whether it was about boundaries, forgiveness, patience, or love, you were being handed the same test again and again until one day you got it. That moment when the lesson finally clicks and you stop repeating the pattern isn't just personal growth. It could be your soul finishing one of its final chapters. Now, you may also find yourself becoming less judgmental. In your younger years, maybe you had strong opinions. You might have been quick to label people as good or bad, right or wrong. But now, you realize everyone is just doing the best they can with what they know. You've softened. You give more grace. You listen more, talk less. You don't take things so personally. That open-hearted understanding is one of the most sacred signs of a soul that's lived through lifetimes of polarity and is now seeking unity. Think about it. When you were younger, life felt like a race. You had to get somewhere, be someone, prove something. But now, you've slowed down. Not just because of age, but because your spirit no longer needs the chase. You're not trying to win anymore. You're just being. And in that quiet beingness, you're starting to taste a kind of freedom most people never reach. And you might be wondering, does this mean I'm done? Is there nothing left to do? Not quite. If you are in your last life, it doesn't mean you stop living. It means you start living fully, with love, with purpose, without fear. Because you know, truly know that the only thing that matters is how much light you bring into the world before you go. There's a quiet shift that happens when you stop chasing answers and start living the questions. That's another powerful sign. You're comfortable with not knowing everything. In your younger years, you probably needed explanations for everything. Why someone hurt you, why things didn't work out, why certain dreams never came true. But now, you've accepted that some things were never meant to be understood. They were only meant to be experienced. And that acceptance, that deep surrender, it's wisdom in its purest form. You don't need certainty anymore. You've traded it in for trust. Not blind faith, but a calm knowing that whatever comes, joy or pain, you can handle it. And more than that, it's meant to shape you, not break you. That spiritual maturity is something most people spend lifetimes trying to reach. If you're already there, even just a little bit, that's something sacred. Now let's talk about something that might surprise you. You've started attracting younger souls, even if you're not trying to. People come to you with their problems, their confusion, their questions about life. They want to know how you stayed so grounded, how you forgave, how you kept going, and you don't even think you're doing anything special. You're just speaking from experience. But what's actually happening is deeper than that. Your energy is magnetic to those who are still in earlier stages of their journey. Whether you realize it or not, you're becoming a guide, a kind of spiritual elder. And that happens when a soul reaches its final phase. It becomes a lighthouse. You don't need the spotlight. You just shine because that's who you are now. Even your silence carries a presence. You may find that people feel calmer around you, more open, more safe. That's not ego. That's your soul showing up fully. And here's something you may not have even told anyone. You've started to feel less afraid of death. Not because you're ready to go, but because something inside you knows it's not the end. It's just a return, a homecoming. And when you think about the end of your life, it's not filled with dread. You might actually feel curious, peaceful, maybe even grateful. That calm acceptance doesn't mean you've given up. It means you understand that this life, beautiful as it is, was never meant to last forever, and you're okay with that. That shift in your relationship with death is one of the deepest signs that you're nearing the end of your karmic cycle. Because fear is what keeps us stuck. And once the fear falls away, you're no longer tied to this world in the same way. You start living with more presence, because you're not trying to outrun anything anymore. You're just here, right now. And maybe that's the biggest gift of this stage in life. You start noticing beauty everywhere, in the tiniest moments. The laughter of your grandchild, the warmth of the sun on your skin, a quiet walk after dinner. You don't need fireworks or big events to feel alive. You've realized that life whispers, and finally you're quiet enough to hear it. This is what a soul at the end of its journey looks like. Not dramatic, not flashy, just deeply present, deeply loving, and deeply aware. But that doesn't mean you stop growing. In fact, your growth might be even more meaningful now than ever before. because you're no longer growing to achieve or succeed, you're growing to let go, to forgive what hurt, to love what's left, to return to who you really are underneath everything. And sometimes, the signs show up in the simplest ways. You feel called to be of service. Not out of obligation, but out of love. You want to give, help, listen. You want to leave something better behind. A kind word, a gentle touch, a little more light in the world than there was yesterday. You don't want recognition. You just want to mean something, even if it's just to one person. That quiet desire to serve, not for reward, but from the soul, is one of the final lessons before the cycle completes. And the truth is, most people won't understand what you're feeling. That's okay. Your path is yours alone. You may have outgrown certain relationships, beliefs, or even parts of yourself. You might not relate to the world in the same way anymore. But that's not loneliness, it's clarity. It's knowing that you no longer need noise to feel full. You've found your rhythm, you've found your truth, you've found your peace. You may have noticed something else too. You've stopped needing to be right. Not because you don't have strong beliefs, but because you've realized that peace is more valuable than being correct. Arguments that once felt important now feel empty. You'd rather connect than convince. That quiet shift away from ego and into empathy is a major sign that your soul has already learned the lesson of pride and control. You've stepped into a new frequency, one where harmony matters more than victory. You've probably also started having moments of intense gratitude, not just when things are going well, but in the middle of an ordinary day. Maybe you're doing something simple like watering your plants or watching a sunset, and suddenly, your eyes fill with tears. But not from sadness, from something deeper. From this overwhelming appreciation for life itself, for every breath, every memory, every lesson. That kind of gratitude doesn't come from comfort, it comes from completion. Your soul is saying, I see the beauty now, even in the hard parts. And here's the final sign, maybe the most powerful of all. You've started to feel like you're becoming less of who you thought you were and more of something greater. As if the you played in this life, the name, the roles, the identity, is gently fading. But instead of panic, you feel peace. Like you're dissolving back into something bigger, a kind of light, a kind of love. This isn't the same as feeling lost, it's feeling expanded. Your ego may be shrinking, but your spirit is stretching. It's reaching beyond this life, this time, this body. You start to understand that you're not just a person having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being who's had a human experience. And now, that experience is nearing its final chapter, not as an ending, but as a return. You're going home. But before that, there's still something beautiful left to do. To live with love, to offer grace, to be the elder, the guide, the gentle presence that this world needs more of. You're not done yet, not while your heart is still beating. You still have light to share. So if these signs resonated with you, if you felt something stir inside you, something familiar and wordless, trust it. That's your soul remembering. You don't need to prove it to anyone. You don't need to convince or explain. Just keep showing up as you are, fully, honestly, quietly radiant. You're here for a reason. Maybe not to change the world, but to touch it. Even if just a little. Even if just through a smile, a kind word, a story that helps someone else feel less alone. And remember, reaching the end of your life cycle isn't about fading away. It's about rising into your truest form, lighter, freer, wiser, more at peace than ever. So take a moment now. Breathe in slowly. Let it settle in your chest. Feel the weight of all the years behind you and the lightness of everything ahead. You've done well. You've lived, learned, and loved. You've cried and healed and forgiven. And if this truly is your last life, then may it be your most peaceful, your most intentional, your most beautiful. You don't need to do more. You just need to be proud of how far you've come. If any part of this touched your heart today, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you felt one of these signs for years, or maybe you've just started noticing them now. Either way, your journey matters. Every step of it. And if you found this helpful, please give the video a like. It helps more souls like yours find their way here. And subscribe if you'd like more stories, guidance, and soulful wisdom as you walk this incredible path of life. Here's to you, to your story, to your soul's journey, wherever it's headed next. Live gently, love deeply, and never forget, you're exactly where you're meant to be.